Okay, let's dive in. Today, we're looking at something pretty fundamental, even if we don't always think about it. The global market for aluminum products made from purchased stock.
That's right. We're focusing specifically on the manufacturing side, companies buying aluminum, whether it's new primary metal or, importantly, recycled material, and turning it into finished goods.
And we're working from a really detailed market forecast report you found.
Yeah.
So the plan is to unpack that data, get a handle on the market size, where it's heading, and what's actually driving all this growth.
Exactly. And it's fascinating because aluminum is just everywhere. Your car, your phone, buildings, packaging. Understanding this market tells you a lot about global industry, sustainability efforts, economic trends.
It really does. And just to be clear on the scope, this report covers goods made using purchased aluminum stock, right? So both primary and recycled sources are in the mix.
Precisely. It's about that downstream manufacturing value chain.
Okay, so what's the big picture? How large is this market globally?
Well, it's already substantial. The report pegged it at $130.54 billion back in 2021.
Wow, okay. $130 billion, that's a serious starting point.
Yeah.
And it's growing.
Oh, yeah, definitely growing. The forecast shows it reaching $161.1 billion pretty soon by 2025.
Okay.
And then looking further out, say to 2033, the projection is $245.37 billion.
Whoa, nearly double the 2021 number over that time frame. What does that work out to as an average growth rate?
That translates to a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 5.4%.
5.4%. That sounds pretty healthy for such a large, established market.
It is. It indicates really solid, sustained global demand over the next decade or so.
Right. And growth like that doesn't just happen. What does the report say is, pushing this forward? What are the key drivers?
It points to three main things. First, and this is a big one, sustainability initiatives.
Ah, okay. Makes sense for aluminum.
Absolutely. Using recycled aluminum needs way less energy. We're talking up to 95% less than making it from scratch, from ore. So in a world focused on carbon footprints and the circular economy, that's a huge advantage.
So the green angle isn't just talk. It's actually driving economic choices here. What else?
Manufacturing innovation is key too. We're constantly finding better ways to process aluminum, make new alloys, form more complex shapes, think lighter, stronger parts.
Which opens up new uses, I imagine.
Exactly. And the third driver is pretty straightforward. Demand from the big end-user industries.
Like automotive. Construction.
Precisely those. Automotive is huge lightweighting for fuel efficiency in regular cars, extending range in EVs. Construction uses tons of it for its strength, low weight, durability. Think window frames, facades, structures.
And packaging, of course. Cans.
Yeah, beverage cans alone are a massive, constant source of demand globally. So these huge sectors are basically pulling the market forward.
Okay, so large market, solid growth, driven by sustainability, innovation, and core industrial demand. Makes sense. Let's break it down by region. Where's the action concentrated? Who's leading?
Well, one region really stands out from the data, Asia Pacific. It's the leader both in current market size and projected growth rate.
All right, the global manufacturing hub. What kind of numbers are we talking about there?
It was already $46.7 billion back in 2021. It's expected to hit $60.2 billion by 2025 and then jump to a really impressive $95.4 billion by 2033.
$95 billion.
Okay.
Just in Asia Pacific.
And its growth rate, the CAGR, is 5.9%. That's the highest of any region, so biggest and fastest growing.
Is that mostly down to China?
China is definitely the heavyweight champion in the region and globally in terms of sheer volume. It was $24.7 billion in 2021, projected to be $32.2 billion by 2025, and $51.6 billion by 2033.
Wow.
Yeah, with a strong CGR of 6.1% itself, its scale is just enormous.
More than half the region's total, easily. But I think I saw something interesting about India in the report notes, about its growth rate.
You did. Good catch. While China's the biggest market, India actually has the highest individual country NGR forecast globally.
Really? Higher than China's?
Yeah, at 6.6%. It starts from a smaller base, about $5.5 billion in 2021, but it's projected to more than double to $12.3 billion by 2033. That rapid growth in India is really significant.
That is fascinating. So China for scale, India for speed. What about other players in Asia Pacific? Japan, Korea?
They're significant too. Japan's a big, mature market, expected to reach $13.2 billion by 2033, growing at a healthy 5.7%. South Korea looking at $8.3 billion, growing at 5.4%.
Okay.
And actually, Australia shows surprisingly strong growth potential, a 6.3% CAGR projected to hit $3.9 billion, outpacing China's rate percentage-wise, though, from a much smaller start.
Interesting. And Southeast Asia?
Southeast Asia as a bloc is also important, forecast to reach $4.7 billion with a 5.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Forecast to reach $4.7 billion with a 5.5% CAGR.
So yeah, while China dominates, the growth in Asia-Pacific is pretty broad-based across several key economies.
North America is the second largest regional market. It was around $35.6 billion in 2021.
Okay.
Forecast to rise to $42.8 billion by 2025, and the projection for 2033 is $63.3 billion.
And the growth rate there?
The overall CAGR for North America is 5%, so right around the global average and matching Europe's pace, actually.
And within North America, I assume the U.S. is the lion's share.
Oh, absolutely. The U.S. market is huge, $26.2 billion in 2021, heading towards $45.6 billion by 2033. Its growth rate is slightly under the regional average at 4.9%, but its sheer size means it drives the regional total.
Right. What about Canada and Mexico?
Canada's pretty solid, expected to grow from $6 billion to $11 billion by 2033, with a 5.3% CAGR, so a bit faster than the U.S.
Okay.
And Mexico is actually the fastest growing in North America, according to this report. It's projected to hit $6.6 billion by 2033 with a 5.5% CAGR.
Ah, interesting. Faster than Canada and the U.S.
Yeah.
Maybe driven by that automotive connection and nearshoring trends.
Could very well be. It highlights that integrated manufacturing picture across the continent.
Definitely. Okay, let's cross the Atlantic. Europe. How does it compare size-wise?
Europe is very close to North America in size, holding that third spot globally. It was $33.5 billion in 2021 and projected to reach $59.4 billion by 2033, also growing at that 5% CAGR, same as North America. So large, established, steady growth.
And the big economies there. Germany, UK, France.
Germany leads Europe. It's forecast to grow from $7.9 billion to $13.6 billion by 2033 with a 4.8% CAGR. The UK is also substantial, projected to reach $7.2 billion, also growing at 4.8%.
Slightly slower than the regional average, but still solid for big economies.
But then you have France and Italy showing slightly faster growth, both at 5.2% CAGR, France heading towards $10.8 billion, Italy towards $7.3 billion, Spain's close behind at 5.1%.
Any standouts, high or low?
Well, Russia is noted as having slower growth, a 4.3% CAGR, reaching about $5.8 billion. But interestingly, the report flags Luxembourg, a much smaller market, obviously, as having the highest growth rate in Europe at 5.5%.
Luxembourg?
Yeah, projected to reach $1.5 billion, suggests maybe a specialized industry or strong export focus there. And the rest of Europe grouped together shows decent growth too, 5.3% CAGR.
It just shows even within these big regional blocks, you get quite a bit of variation. Okay, what about Latin America?
Latin America shows some strong growth dynamics. Brazil leads the region, expected to double its market from $3.5 billion in 2021 to $7 billion by 2033, growing at 5.8%.
Okay, solid growth. And Argentina? I recall seeing that mentioned too.
Yes, Argentina's growth rate is actually highlighted as being even slightly higher, at 6% CAGR. It's projected to grow from $1.9 billion to $3.8 billion. That's quite strong for the region.
It really is. Anyone else significant there?
Yeah, Colombia, Peru, and Chile all show very similar healthy growth rates, around 5.5% to 5.6%. Colombia heading to $2.6 billion, Peru to $1.6 billion, Chile to $1.4 billion. It's a picture of pretty consistent above-average growth across several key economies there.
Good to see that momentum. Okay, finally, the Middle East and Africa. How does that region fit in?
Generally, the report shows more moderate growth there compared to, say, Asia or Latin America. Still growing, but at a slower pace.
Okay, any specific country data?
Egypt is projected to grow from about $0.9 billion to $1.5 billion by 2033. That's a 4.6% CAGR. Turkey is similar in size, also heading towards $1.5 billion, but with a slightly slower 4.4% CAGR.
And the rest of the Middle East?
The rest of the Middle East category actually shows the slowest growth rate mentioned for any subregion, 4.5% CAGR, moving from $0.4 billion to $0.7 billion. So positive growth, but definitely lagging the global pace.
Okay, we've gone around the world now. So stepping back, if you synthesize all this, what are the big takeaways? the implications.
Well, I think what's really striking is how widespread this growth is. It's not just the usual suspects, the big developed economies. You're seeing really significant, often faster growth in emerging economies like India, China, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina.
Right. It's truly a global trend.
Exactly. And it seems driven by those common factors everywhere. The push for sustainability, better manufacturing tech, and that core demand from sectors like auto and construction. And that sustainability piece, especially the use of recycled aluminum, that feels crucial.
Yeah, it seems like the efficiency and the lower energy cost of using purchased stock, especially recycled, is a massive enabler for this growth across the board.
Absolutely. It suggests the game is shifting. It's becoming less about just having the raw materials, the bauxite, and more about having the efficient manufacturing and recycling infrastructure to use the metal that's already out there or being produced.
So it speaks to evolving manufacturing strategies, regional competitiveness, heavily influenced by how well places can handle purchased and recycled aluminum.
That's how I read it too. Regions that nail the recycling loop and advanced manufacturing seem really well positioned.
Okay, so to wrap it up, we're looking at a strong, globally growing market for aluminum products from purchased stock, nearly doubling by 2033. Asia Pacific is the powerhouse, led by China's scale and India's incredible growth speed. North America and Europe are huge, steady markets, and it's all underpinned by sustainability, innovation, and demand from key sectors like cars, buildings, and packaging.
And understanding the specific market, it gives you a window into these bigger shifts, how we make things, how we manage resources, how environmental goals are genuinely reshaping industry on a global scale.
Which leads to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. If this powerful trend towards sustainability and recycled materials is so clearly reshaping a massive market like aluminum, what might that mean for other essential materials? Think about plastics, steel, maybe even concrete or rare earths. Could we see similar pressures fundamentally changing those supply chains, driving innovation in recycling and material science just as dramatically over the coming decade? Where else might the lessons from aluminum apply?
Okay, welcome to this deep dive. We're exploring a really specific but actually crucial part of the materials market today.
That's right. We're digging into aluminum products made from purchased aluminum.
And we're using insights based on work from cognitive market research. The mission, as always, is to quickly get you the most important takeaways, the drivers, challenges, and future trends shaping this segment.
Yeah, and it really matters because, well, aluminum is just everywhere, isn't it?
It really is. Think about...
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
Well, aluminum is just everywhere, isn't it?
It really is. Think about the car you might drive, the building you're maybe sitting in, even the can your drink came in. Understanding this market, it kind of gives you a peek behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And the research suggests pretty clearly that demand from industry, sustainability efforts, and tech improvements are the big forces at play here.
Okay, so let's start there. What's pushing growth? What are the main drivers the sources point to?
Well, the biggest one is simply rising demand from, major sectors. Automotive, construction, aerospace, packaging, they're all using more.
And why aluminum specifically?
It's down to its properties, really.
Yeah.
It's lightweight, it resists corrosion naturally, and crucially, it's very, very recyclable.
Which connects right back to you, the listener, doesn't it? Things like better fuel efficiency in cars or green building trends. They need materials like aluminum.
Exactly. For car frames, plain fuselages, building facades, those ubiquitous drink cans, it fits the bill.
Okay, what else is driving growth?
Another key factor is the advantage of using purchased aluminum itself, especially the recycled kind.
Ah, secondary aluminum.
Right. Using that recycled feedstock, it uses dramatically less energy compared to making aluminum from raw bauxite ore, like vastly less.
And that means lower production costs for manufacturers, yeah? Plus meeting environmental regs.
Precisely. Lower costs, hitting sustainability targets, maybe getting financial incentives. It all lines up. Yeah. Companies want purchased aluminum for those reasons, too.
Interesting. It's not just the material source, though, is it? What about how it's made?
Good point. The sources also highlight really rapid progress in fabrication tech. Things like rolling, casting, extrusion, how you shape the metal.
And how does that help?
Well, these advancements mean better precision, improved surface quality, more customization options.
So manufacturers can get more specialized parts.
Exactly. Pre-processed components ready to integrate. That boosts their efficiency and consistency. Less work for them to do in-house.
Makes sense. But every market has its hurdles. What challenges does this one face?
The big one mentioned is price volatility and the supply chain risks that come with it.
Because aluminum prices are tied to things like energy costs.
Energy costs, bauxite mining output, even geopolitical events. Huge swings can happen.
And that hits the buyers of purchased aluminum directly in their input costs.
Yep. It can squeeze margins, cause production delays. It's a real challenge.
Okay, what else? Competition.
Definitely. There are other lightweight materials out there now. Think carbon fiber composites, some high-strength plastics, even magnesium alloys.
And where do they compete most strongly?
Mainly in those high-performance areas, like you might expect. Aerospace, high-end cars, places where that strength-to-weight ratio is absolutely critical.
So, a threat in certain niches. Is there anything else?
Well, there's the environmental scrutiny, mostly aimed at primary aluminum smelting, the initial production. It uses a lot of energy and has associated emissions.
Even though using purchased, especially recycled, aluminum helps mitigate that significantly.
It does help massively. But the overall life cycle footprint of aluminum, starting from scratch, still gets looked at, particularly with strict ESG frameworks, environmental, social, governance becoming more common. It affects market sentiment sometimes.
Got it. Okay, looking forward then, what emerging trends are shaping the future here?
Sustainable construction is a big one. Green building projects love aluminum.
Because it's recyclable and helps meet standards like LED.
Exactly. You see it in curtain walls, window frames, roofing, prefabricated bits, often using that purchased recycled content to hit both performance and green targets.
Makes sense. What other trends?
There's also a growing demand for more value-added products. Customized stuff?
Meaning things that are already partly processed?
Yeah, like pre-finished items.
Right.
Think anodized sheets, precision-cut rods, heat-treated extrusions, things that require less processing by the final manufacturer.
Right, so they buy the aluminum stock, and it's closer to what they need immediately, saves them time and effort.
Precisely. Boosts their efficiency and scalability. And the last big trend is digital integration, Industry 4.0 stuff.
You mean like AI for quality checks or automated machinery?
Yeah, AI-based defect detection, automated sawing and milling, smart inventory systems, all that.
And the impact is?
It just makes processing the purchased aluminum faster, cleaner, more responsive. It helps with lean production, cuts waste, improves just-in-time delivery. It's really modernizing things.
So wrapping this up, it sounds like the market for aluminum products from purchased aluminum is, well, really dynamic, driven by core needs like demand and sustainability.
Refined by technology.
But definitely facing hurdles like price swings and competition from other materials.
Yeah, it's a fascinating space, and like we said, it's fundamental to so many products you interact with daily.
So here's a final thought for you to consider. With alternative materials always improving, and the push for ever stricter sustainability, how do you think the role and maybe even the form of aluminum in the products you rely on might change in the coming years? Something to chew on.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.